this is an incredible opportunity for all of us to, you know, it's a blended session, right? It's something very different. It's never been done before. And don't worry, we're not going to hypnotize you and, you know, steal all your heart and soul. We're going to make something else happen. So let's be with the flow. The only other request is, if you have questions, we'll be happy to take it. But if it's such an earth-shattering, you know, if some meteor is going to strike Earth and you want to tell us about it, then you can interrupt. Else, let's wait for the session to get over and then we'll chat. Right? Thank you. I don't know how to introduce these guys. It's not in my capacity. So if you can spend a minute or two on your own, because I'm embarrassed to introduce you. You know, I don't know where to start and where to end. So, and then I'll do the rest.
Can be heard? Yes. So my name is Dinesh Ghodke, and I was introduced to the art of living when I was studying in IIT Mumbai. I was in my second year, so already got introduced to all the stress and the deadlines and all the targets to reach and so much of workload. And this made a huge difference to my life, who I was and whatever I did. You know, as a sportsman or in academics or taking responsibility for people around me and, you know, for the rest of the world. And that's where I passionately felt that what I have learned, this wisdom or these techniques should reach out to people all over the world. And after graduating, I worked with Infosys for a couple of years, and thereafter I have been full-time. So last 20 years have been an amazing, adventurous journey, personally as well as, you know, for everybody around me.
And my name is Dinesh Kashikar. I happen to be in the same institute that Dinesh went to. I did my master's in chemical engineering. And then I had a choice. I either could do what I had to do or what I wanted to do. And then I said, I want to do this. That's how I started teaching yoga. And for the last 25 years, I've been talking yoga, doing yoga, and making people do yoga and making people teach yoga.
So quick introduction on my engagement with these two gentlemen who both have long hair, and unfortunately one guy doesn't have a beard. So, you know, the Dinesh on the extreme left is my teacher way back from 2001. And I entered this room in, you know, Badwar Park in Kolaba with a lot of trepidation, a lot of doubt, you know, pata nahi yaar kya hone wala hai yahan par 3-4 days. And before I sat down, someone from far down the room said, "Who's heard Comfortably Numb from Pink Floyd?" And I said, "Am I in the right room?" And it was this guy who was talking about Pink Floyd and you know, the art of breathing and meditation. And the other Dinesh, who's in the center, is even more interesting. So how many people here have used a dongle? You know what a dongle is, an internet dongle? I mean, I hope all of you have used, because Wi-Fi in India or internet in India doesn't work. Neither does a dongle, but nevertheless. So, you know, there was a very interesting, so I didn't know what he does, right? And I said, what does this guy do? I mean, you know, he's got nice hair and nice beard, but what's his, you know, what's the claim to fame? अपने startup में होता है ना, claim to fame होना चाहिए भाई. कंपनी बेचा, कंपनी खरीदा, कंपनी bankrupt किया, VC से 100 crore रुपए उठाया. आपने क्या किया? So amongst all the other things, one guy told me, he said, "Alok, you know, you have a MacBook Air, right?" I said, "Yeah." He says, what dongle do you use? I said, you know, and funnily enough, I was using a Reliance dongle. So he said, you know, when the first Reliance dongles were made, they were shipped to the Art of Living because they had a lot of MacBooks at that time. And when he put that dongle into the MacBook, it didn't start. Now, guess why it didn't start? Because there's no driver for the dongle, right? Everybody knows what a driver is, not the guy who drives the bus. There's something else that drives the dongle. And Dinesh here wrote the driver to make that dongle work. So that was my introduction. So if you have any driver problems, not the ones that drive the cars, but, you know, make your dongles not work, you know who to talk to. So jump from there, right? This is all fine, and they're great people to talk to, and you can keep talking to them. But the purpose of this is not about, you know, gloating about, you know, who did what in college and school. It's a very interesting journey that I've gone through, and I'm 14. I'm a spiritual hippie. So to explain what that means, since the time I was 8 or 9, I've been experimenting, you know, going to all kinds of places and people, and I've been, you know, having a lot of fun. But I've been stuck to you guys for 15, 16 years for a reason, and that's what I want to explore today. And This session at NPC, Bangalore, NASSCOM, Product Conclave, yes, I can read what NPC means, is specifically to explain to you the learnings, the insight, the wealth of knowledge that has been generated in an organization like Art of Living or whatever these guys have done and apply to our startups, right? This is not to convert you and to start making you start saying Om in the next 3 minutes, right? So don't worry about that. Nothing's going to happen to you. So we were in the speakers lounge and we happened to meet all the Illuminati of internet there. And while we were sitting, I was asking, I was telling both of them that, how many people founders in this room? Right, awesome. And how many people are working in startups? Right. How many people are working for ONGC here? Thank God, right, okay. So we don't have the wrong people in the room. So the thing is, right, that we all are founders, we all are startups, we all have this whole urge to do something. So not think about this. I want to, create a situation in your mind, right? There's this founder, he's young, he's not an IIT guy, he didn't make it to IIT, but he did some BSc stuff. And he is inspired and he sits under a tree, okay? How many people here sit under a tree to get inspired? Okay, one guy does, right? So I think you should sit under a tree. Anyway, this guy sits under a tree. He kind of meditates, breathes, blah, blah, blah. And suddenly has this insight, right? Some thought. We all have, so again, let me ask you, I'm keeping on engaging you guys. All of us here who have founded something or started up something have had an insight, am I right? Right? Anybody who's copied the 20th, .com e-commerce site here? Thankfully, nobody. We've all had insight. So this person has this insight. It's not too far away, right? Not too long back, 20 years back, 2-3 decades back. Now, what does this person do? What happens in that person's journey to grow from a man under a tree to 154 country organization? Hold your breath. This thing, the Art of Living that I'm talking about has touched 300 million people, and so on and so forth. And most importantly, how do they motivate these two IIT guys, which I still can't get over? I mean, your ESOPs, Dinesh, I was calculating, your Infi ESOPs of 299 would have been worth 262 crores right now. So I wish I had met you at that time. I could have at least taken your ESOPs. Yeah. At least my father would have been proud if nothing else. This whole conversation is about, nothing else but the science, the magic, the methodology, the process to the method. It's not about, voodoo and Lord Shiva coming and Parvati coming and, throwing some stars and diamonds at us. So, just to go back into the nitty-gritty, the detail, the hard work that goes into it. Like all product guys here, we want to make something, that has that is visioned. It's not something that is stale, right? Not something that exists. Of course, it can exist, but we want to do it better. And then we need to have the passion and the perseverance to do it. Everybody loves to start up. I call it the weekend syndrome. People get very bored on the weekend, especially the guys who work in ONGC. Well, okay, not the guys who work in ONGC, the guys who work in Deloitte. How many people in Deloitte over here? Okay, thank God. So we can throw some fun. So all the Deloitte guys get very bored on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they dream up these startup ideas and they keep mailing me. Arey Alok, I want to do this. By Monday 3 p.m. the idea is gone. Because boss ने उनको 4 बार email डाल दिया है, वो मर गए उस time में. We want the dream to live on, and then we want this thing to take a life of its own. It can't be pushed by us. You can't push a boulder up a mountain forever. And then it just begins to become something bigger and better than we've ever imagined. And ideas, Instagram, Facebook, Google, Skype, Clash of Clans, Angry Birds, Rubik Cube, they've all begun like that. So we want to talk about some of the learning, some of the thoughts that have gone into making this, I would call fabulous product, scale from one man under a tree to something that everybody knows in the world today, whether you like it or not. That's the best part. You might hide behind the curtain and say, I'm not going to associate with these guys, but you've heard of Art of Living, right? So how did this happen? And that's what I want to talk about, and the processes.
Sure.
I think I've already spoken my quota, so I'm going to shut up now. But, when you guys started, and anybody can take it first, and you started, it was a startup. it still is a startup. I mean, some of the stuff that happens is not very, very professional, but I mean, not professional, but it's startup. So, in those days, and I think Dinesh just said it's the largest crowdfunded
Crowdsourced.
success, crowdsourced, program in the world. How much VC did Axel Ventures pay Art of Living? Okay, so no venture funded also, right? So let's get into the DNA of what made this happen. So first insight is, when you guys started and when you guys began to train your engineering mind into something so ethereal, right? What is breath and all that? क्या माल बेच रहे हो आप? क्या service provide कर रहे हो? How do founders in this room who are in the same situation, we love an idea, but we don't know how to explain that to ourselves sometimes and definitely to the world. So first question is, how does one go about selling the breath, which is pretty
someone
much
who's breathing.
to someone who's breathing, and what are the insights for startup and founders to learn from that? Because you made 350 million people breathe differently, but they're already breathing, right?
Yeah. So I would say that the first thing is confidence in our product. I know this works. I know it's made a difference to me, and I know I can make a difference to others. It's repeatable.
Very nice.
And having that confidence and having a great product, I think that the most important thing after that is the ability to go after it. Like you said, maybe it's a weekend idea and Monday it goes off, but the ability to put our whole attention behind that idea, to believe in that idea, and that's where it goes into a different level. It goes out from a tangible level to an ethereal level, because belief, faith, all of this comes in, and that's the differentiating factor that I feel, which takes an idea to completion, to fruition. And if we look into all our lives, all of us who have done something will notice that this belief, this internalization, this love, conviction, all these values are what make, and if this is not there, then it stays an idea. What do you say, Dinesh?
Yeah. So before the Art of Living
Yes.
workshop, when I experienced it, before that I used to think yoga and meditation is for those who are old, those whose bodies can't move fast, and that's why they do it slowly, and until I experienced it. And that blew my mind away. And it made a huge difference. And I used to think that, oh, it is for the old and it is not practical. Meditation is not practical. But this was so much practical and so much fun. At that age, when I was 20, all I wanted to do was have lots of fun, to explore, doing many, many things. And this is what the Art of Living, this is what it provided. And there was an inherent desire in me to make a difference to people's lives. Right. I used to be always bugged with corruption, exploitation, and injustice. And when I engaged more with the foundation or what the work that was happening, I found this was so much more, as you said, replicable, it was scalable, and it was sustainable. And that really, and besides that, I would love doing challenging things. I never wanted easy things. And this was quite a challenge, to be able to sell breath or air to people.
Yeah. And thankfully there was no Arvind Kejriwal around that time trying to solve other problems that didn't exist.
This actually brings me to something you mentioned when we started, of pushing a boulder up the hill. That's what we end up doing. We try to do everything ourselves or continue putting effort. But the key factor is to actually identify what will enable me not to do work. I mean, the ability not to do work is much more important than the ability to work. Do you guys get what I'm saying? It's like, if I'm able to get myself out of the picture, then it can sustain itself. Right. And I feel this is what happened with the Art of Living. Guruji started off with this idea, the technique, and then he said, I'm not going to do it, I'm going to train others to do it. And that's how this idea really blossomed and went over to 154 countries. So in a sense, if I can make myself dispensable, then the idea becomes indispensable.
So that's great, but be honest, we all in this room have, that's the ultimate dream. You know, Bill Gates can, cure malaria for the whole world, while Microsoft still mints money from something that should have been free. How many people believe that? Right. So there's robbery going on there, but anyway, that's helping solve malaria, so we forgive him. But having said that, it's a very tough world today in terms of especially business, right? I mean, I'm not saying that selling breath is not as tough, but yes, it is a dream. But just coming back to the first point, that what I loved about your emphasis was to experience what you sell and to benefit or enjoy it. You know, that I have seen in a lot of times lacking in a lot of startups and founding firms, where we're trying to sell a concept or an idea without full belief. It's amazing. And if you see some of the successes that have happened, real success, you know, today's successes. I mean, if you look at, say, how many people have played Minesweeper? Right. How many people? So you'll have paid for Minesweeper, right? Because you couldn't have played it without it. Now, that firm, I don't know how many, does anybody know what it was sold for? I think some obnoxious amount of money. The owner has designed level by level by level by level. And when he got acquired, his letter is worth reading. It's so naive. He says, I don't know what I am. I'm a computer programmer. Let me go back to programming. Leave me alone. That whole, you know, the absorption with what you do. And we've seen this with a lot of other themes. You know, wherever people have gone and solved problems that they wanted to solve, it became a great idea. If it was a problem that someone else told them to solve, it became an also ran, you know, kind of thingy. So great takeaway. Now the second thing, right? I mean, I don't know how did Sri become so lucky with so many people. You know, maybe one or two. I mean, how many people here have a co-founder that they'll, so who would you rather live with? Your co-founder. So if your co-founder and your wife or spouse or girlfriend was leaving you, how many people would leave the wife and co-founder, wife and spouse, girlfriend and spouse, and still be with the co-founder? Put your hands up. No, man, that's not fair. Okay, even I'm not putting up my hand. Okay, this guy. So he's gonna leave. Is your wife in the room? Okay, his wife is in the room. Ma'am, he's gonna leave you for a co-founder. Just kidding. But you get the point, right? I mean, we all want co-founder.
But going to separate very soon.
Oh my God. Okay. How many people here? Okay, let me ask it a little more mildly, a little more gently. How many people really value their co-founders? Great. Or how many people want a great co-founder? Now, if I would say how many people want a quality like a co-founder multiplied by 100, what would you say? How many people would want that? Right. So how does this work? I mean, what does someone do? Very point blank question. To make people who, who really don't get the full picture, with a picture of a startup or an idea is usually in the mind. It's like a cinema that you have seen probably from the beginning to just before the interval. You haven't seen the whole movie yourself. How do you sell that to someone who's, going to be sitting for the first 3 minutes and saying, यार रैम्बो में तो कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा है यार, ये कौन बंदर यहाँ वहाँ भाग रहा है? What are the things that you have learned in 20 years to, how many, I think here's another data point, right? Each of these gentlemen have physically, manually, not virtually, unfortunately, taught more than 1 million people each. 1 million people. That's 10 lakh people. So when you did this, obviously it was with the help of volunteers, teachers, partners. What did you do? How did you motivate these guys to believe in what your boss was doing, and then you were doing, and then how does it percolate down? What's the theory of inspiration?
I guess for me it was just being me. I mean, what I was projecting was not some different figure outside in public and inside, I say, come on now, you have to go and achieve this. No, I was out there doing all those things myself. And on my courses, it didn't happen overnight.
Right.
It started off with say 5 people, 10 people, 20 people. And then on all my courses, whenever I would be teaching the techniques, I put my 100% into it. So my attention was not so much on selling, but on delivering a great product. And when people experienced it, that snowballed. And today, wherever I go, people say, hey, I want to do yoga, even though I don't look like a yoga teacher anymore, but people experience great yoga with me.
Okay, awesome.
Here, I would like to bring, you use 2 words, motivate and inspire.
Yes.
Motivation is something from outside. you give them some salary or some perks, and then next time to achieve some result. But next time that will not be enough. You'll have to give a little more for them to do the same amount of work. But with inspiration, you inspire someone, it's like a one-time thing, and they go there, they walk their path. And I feel that's the philosophy that Sri Sri lives by. He inspires people. And whatever, the volunteers who have worked with the foundation are inspired by what he does and what he is.
So actually, what Dinesh is also not saying is that he and Khurshid Batliwala together designed this program called the S Plus, which was really targeted at youth.
Got it.
And that was such a fantastic program, and they were teaching so well. Everyone else felt, no, I can't do this. Then eventually, that became a stopping point for the whole program. In the sense, it was a very successful program, and many people wanted to do it, but there was only so much that they could do. So the scaling up is extremely important. And I remember one thing that Khurshid used to say. He said, if you do something really well, stop doing it and start teaching others how to do it.
Right. Awesome.
And that's, I guess, it takes a little bit of faith, and that's why I get back to the first point that I said. There is an element of faith, there's an element of belief. There are these soft things that are there inside, and it's very relevant in today's cutthroat competition, though it seems completely opposite. And I would say these opposite values are not contradictory. They're actually complementary. They go hand in hand. And unless we can take them together, we'll lose out on a lot of our capabilities. Otherwise, we start saying, oh, negating half of ourselves. Sure. It's like saying, मैं तेरा एक टांग बांधूंगा और भागू. Unless I can use everything that I have, I don't think I'll be able to perform to my full potential.
So, the takeout that I'm getting here is it's on the brink of imagineering some kind of, effort, best effort. I think the whole people thing, inspire, teach people, create replicable, if I would use clones, if you've seen Star Wars, Darth Vader's troops, stormtroopers, the best guys you could ever employ for your army, all evil guys, but nevertheless, for them, Darth Vader was their guru. It's difficult because human emotions and the mind is not that tameable. But I want to draw upon something that got, kind of mentioned twice, and Dinesh, you mentioned it twice. This is this flight of the mind, and I want to harp on it a lot here for my personal reason, because when I do games, I can think of the bizarre. I can think of the extraordinary because no one stops me. To give you an example, I was at Wharton last year, and Rajesh Sawhney, who's the GSF CEO, was sitting next to me, and I was sometimes you're looking at something, but you're not looking. You're lost in thought. You have that cold stare. So he snapped at me and he said, "Alok, what are you thinking? Tell me right now." So I said, "I'm thinking of how to park a submarine." Now, our biggest success in games is parking games, and no one has done a parking of the submarine game before. So I was trying to figure out the physics of parking a submarine. And when he heard that, he says, "I should not have asked you the question. No, go back to what you were doing." So fine, I have the license to dream all this rubbish. But let me draw you back to, can someone tell me what is the most bizarre thing? So Steve Jobs said 2 of the most bizarre things possible. At least somebody can tell me 1 or 2 of them. Anybody? Come on, man. I mean, you know who Steve Jobs is, right? I was just wondering, did the lunch wash down the memory also? Or? But anyone, what's the most publicly known bizarre thing he said?
A phone with 1 button.
That's not, okay, that is a vision, a phone with 1 button, sure enough, that's bizarre. No, yeah, that's like some elocution competition tagline. Yeah. वो तो यार वो speech writer ने लिखा होगा वो तो. So okay, so I think the most bizarre thing he said, especially in the community that I come from, marketeers and is that the consumer doesn't know what he wants. I mean, who have you heard saying that? Every MBA from Harvard to Wharton to Kellogg says research, consumer, 4P, 5P, Kotler ने करोड़ों रुपए कमा लिया वो P बेचकर. All that rubbish. Everybody has been taught to research, right? That's what Colgate does. That's what P&G does. They go right down to the T. And this guy comes and says, "But who told you that the consumer knows what he wants?" Who told you that? I will make what they don't know they want. Now, if you just examine that, and I'm talking about the greatest entrepreneur, startup guy who's been there, done that, got chucked out, come back again, and he does that, he executes. No one knew what the iPhone could have been. One button. I mean, ये phone है, बस button कहाँ गया यार? अरे button तो है ही नहीं, button तो अंदर है screen में. It's bizarre. Let me tell you the story that probably people don't know or know, but I love to repeat it, and give me a minute to repeat it. This was revealed when he died, and the Salesforce CEO was interviewed on his first death anniversary, and they said, "Tell us something that Steve Jobs told you that you find very memorable." And I think it's Benioff. Am I pronouncing it right? Anybody knows? Benioff. Okay, Benioff. So he said that Benioff went to Steve Jobs. He's a Salesforce co-founder, and he said, "Jobs, I have a problem. I have a sale of $1 billion, and I'm not able to scale. So what do I do to scale?" So Steve Jobs said, "Create a applications universe, or create a business of applications for your consumers to engage in, or for your clients to engage with. Create a application universe or application offering." So Steve Jobs said, so Benioff said, "Okay, so what does it mean? आपने बोल दिया कि बस Alok, put one nostril here and now start breathing." So Steve Jobs says, "How do I know? That's for you to figure out." Now, man, I mean, that's like the most bizarre thing you said, right? That, yeah, I mean, go up and stay upstairs, but where to stay, I don't know. The story as it unfolded was, Benioff thought and thought, and he let his mind expand, roam the universe. I'm using your words now. Go beyond intellect and reasoning and intelligence, and say, what did this man say? The App Store that we know today is a result of that thinking. And Benioff actually invented the App Store and went back to Steve Jobs and gave it to him back, saying, "This is the App Store that you were talking about." And the app, how many people here have used an app? You know what an App Store is, right? Yeah. So it's a result of that flight of mind that was not supposed to be there, but it was there.
If I may butt in, we face this a lot. The consumer doesn't know what he wants, what she wants. Yeah. I tell people, "You want to be happy?" He says, "No, I want money." I say, "You want to be healthy?" "No, I want
I'm
money."
in the line, I want money. Right?
"Well, why do you want money?" "So that I can, buy cars and travel the world." And so what will that make you? Happy. Yeah. So many times I have to convince people that yes, they want to be happy, they want to be healthy, they want love from people around them. Isn't it? Isn't that natural for everyone? Every soul cries for peace, for joy, for love.
Marwadi's heart wants money, boss. वो सब बाद में देख लेंगे
I can tell you many more Marwadi jokes.
So now the third thing, right, which is really the problem of, okay, you guys are really lucky. I don't know how you do it, but 13,000 teachers and all some great guys. So whatever, we can't help it. We are not that lucky all the time. So there's a lot of failure. There's a lot of regret. There's a lot of, oh no, यार मैंने तो pitch बनाई, वो उसने VC तो चला गया San Francisco, and then next day I got hammered. There's a very nice story that we all know of Taxi for Sure. They were the Mint. So when the Uber incident happened in Delhi, the Taxi for Sure guy was actually in Etihad airplane going to San Francisco. This was in the Mint, and he had moved. He was in Dubai and he was going to go to San Fran to sign a term sheet, and it got cancelled. So bad luck. So the question is that, and I asked Rishi this in an interview that, first and foremost, I'm sure you failed. Nobody has the guts to ask you that. Tell me where you failed. And he owed up. He said, "I failed in peacekeeping in some parts of the world." But to both of you, right, you guys seem to be really like the stars of the universe. But, where did you fail? Why did you fail? And what did you do to overcome your failure?
You go first, I'll fail at this.
So, when I teach in the courses, my best stories are my failure stories. So I tell people this. If you fail, that will make a fantastic story for your children or your grandchildren. And this is the wisdom that Shishi has given. Yes, you go ahead and fail, but make new mistakes every time. You are encouraged to make mistakes, but not repeat the same mistakes. You learn from them and make new mistakes. So that is one brilliant,
Take
you know,
away,
the working ethos of the organization.
If you actually look at my story, it might seem like a big failure. I was at IIT and then without
Is that a
finishing,
failure? Like, I wish I was an IIT boss.
yeah, after 4 years, I said, let me not do this thing. I don't think I'm cut out to do this thing. And I came and stayed at the ashram. And I started growing my hair. Then everyone said, oh my God, what have you done? You're a complete failure. I mean, you can imagine 4 years in such a college and then coming to an ashram. In those days, art of living was not known at all.
Exactly.
And everyone told me, boss, you've lost it. And the whole effort was to try to get me in and somehow make me finish the thing. But eventually, when I look back today, everyone tells, I actually went to an alumni meeting.
You did?
Yeah.
Were you dressed like this?
Yeah, I was still dressed like this. In fact, I had a dhoti on. And we were comparing notes. I have reached here, been there, done that. And suddenly I realized I had more visa stamps on my passport. I have a new car to travel in with a great chauffeur every day. Someone drives me around here and there. I get to meet
That's
new
not
people.
Ola, right? Not a Ola.
Absolutely. It's a personal chauffeur-driven car that I have who actually speaks to me. So if I look at all the parameters of life which we look at for success, I see, oh my God, all the same things which people said was a failure was actually my success. So in this sense,
Fantastic.
for me, the ability to not look at a failure as a failure is a great way to not get bogged down by that failure. I could have at that time said, oh, forget about it, I don't think this is working, and gone back and done the same things and been sitting on the other side of the room. But today I'm sitting on this side of the room because I believed it's not a failure. So this ability
Fantastic.
to believe in
Fantastic.
oneself, I think
Fantastic.
that's something so important in this
It's
part.
fantastic. So I think you're just, my VC, a guy called Sumant Mandal, and funnily enough, I mean, there's another story, another panel, another day, but some of the stars are conjoined, right? So he's the son-in-law of Deepak Chopra, who is also our Guruji's brother, Guru Bhai. And he keeps saying that, Alok, the reality you live in is what you create for yourself. So a lot of the times that, this reality that we keep importing and exporting, there's a very nice, if you see all the Bollywood movies of the 80s, the guy in the jacket with three-tiered jacket, the guy with the cigar, he used to say, "Aap kya karte ho?" Oh, them import-export karte hain. So this whole import-export of people's, we import people's achievements and we export our failures, and then we look at this beautiful balance sheet, which looks like a wreck. But honestly, like you said, if you just look at your own balance sheet, it looks really pretty because you're very, very unique and you've done something remarkable. And not you, but all of us.
Yeah.
But the comparing and comparative thesis is very punishing. And we keep getting punished, especially the people here. अच्छा आपने खाली 3.1 रेस करा, अरे यार वो तो मैंने लास्ट ईयर खाली ऐसे बाथरूम में खड़े होकर रेस कर दिया था, मेरा तो 31 है. Once I was talking to someone and they said, अच्छा how much you raised? I said, this was my first round, I said, yeah, 4.2. He said, अच्छा, I just removed the decimal Alok for myself. I go, okay, boss. Now, so you can't stop running this comparative race. And I think once you introspect, you realize what.
I think in this context, not only is it important to have this bird's eye view, but it's also important to have some tangible techniques that will make a difference. It's great to sit here and intellectualize, talk, man ko shant rakhna chahiye, ye karna chahiye. But when it's happening, then what to do? I think that's where I felt this organization has made such a big difference, because there are two components to it. There's a knowledge, there's a principle, there's a theory, and there's a practice that makes that happen.
Application.
Unless we have the tools to make the theory work, it's not really going to work. So knowledge and technique go hand in hand. If there's only knowledge, we just sit and it's a boardroom discussion.
So in fact, you helped me dovetail or segue into the next question. So how many people here, I mean, this is an honest question, right? How many people of you all feel that, while you know what you're supposed to do every day as a startup founder, you're indisciplined or you waver in that discipline of doing the, say, 10 KRAs that you have to. Let's be honest, right? I'll put up my hand. Right?
Okay.
Come on. You don't have to participate. No. It's a human emotion, right? And we all waver and then we all regret. You have to read that Excel sheet every day, come what may, and you have to read row 21, column D, because that's where the God is, but you don't want to read it. But they are kal padenge yaar. Same hi to hoga. But that one day in games makes your rank go from 95 to 120 and you're wrecked the next day. So I want to talk about, and we have about 10 minutes, I'm sure some questions will come, I hope. I want to talk about the art of discipline. Really is the biggest learning I have got from you guys. I've been meditating with the art of living technique for the last 14 years. And I would be honest to say, I've missed maybe in the 14 years, maybe 40, 50 days. So that's real hardcore discipline. And let me tell you the benefit of that, right? So when I was entering Dinesh, the extreme left, Dinesh G's course in 2001, someone said, do you drink and smoke? And I was very cocky, man. I was a South Bombay guy. Still am, still cocky, but nevertheless. I said, hey, kaun hai yaar ye sab sadhu maharaj? Kya question pooch rahe humko? It was not you, it was some chela of yours. Weirdo, man. What are you asking me? Arey boss, I am drinking, smoking. Aapko kya jana? To course ke liye aaye, fees diya hai. Sikhao humko jo sikhane ka hai. So I said, yeah. So he said, let's see. He started laughing. I said, what are you laughing, man? So he said, let's see what lasts longer, your practice or your drinking and smoking. Now, I don't know whether it was divine, whether it was self. I just, like a bullet, it got into my head. I said, I'll show this bagaya. मैं दिखाता हूँ इसको. I've written a blog on this and I'll point you to it. The first thing that vanished was the smoking. This happened 3 or 4 years, 5 years later. And about 9 years later, the drinking vanished. And when I say vanish, let me take a minute more on that vanishing part. I have a very simple theory. How many people have been heartbroken by a girl? It doesn't matter, man. Even if your wives are watching you on webcam, nothing matters. How many people have been heartbroken by a guy? The guys can also put up their hands, okay? It's allowed. No one's stopping you, man. We're not, whatever. So it's very simple, right? If a girl breaks your heart, you love her, she loves you, but then she leaves you. She leaves you. You didn't want to leave her, but she left you. Similarly, the guys, I don't know, whatever. But guy's not broken my heart so far. Someone leaves someone to make the relationship break. That's the theory. So if I want to leave smoking, either I leave smoking, impossible, or it leaves me. The thing I learned with the Art of Living's meditation was that the breath, and this is going to sound, I'm allowed to do one metaphysical conversation here. The way I look at it is that the breath programs your hardware to change it. And your hardware then says, I don't need this thing coming in my lungs. And that's what I experienced. So without making any will effort, it left me. But I think that discipline every day I look at my mat at 8:05 a.m. and I say, yaar, thoda ruk jata ho yaar. Thoda pani pita ho. Drink like as if I'm a fish. I keep drinking water just to delay that time. But then when you sit for 48 minutes and do that rigor, things happen. So I don't know whether you agree, but that the discipline of doing something every day, come what may, whether it's looking at an Excel sheet, whether it's picking up the phone and calling 19 clients and saying, boss, do work with me, whether it's levali, in Marwadi there's a word called levali, which is recovering money. It's a very beautiful job. Only I wish your enemies get that job. You have to keep begging for money and then nobody pays and you do it again the next day. That's what you're taught when you join your father's factory. Ki ja beta pehle paisa recover kar kar aa. So just a quick, we have 5 minutes. So just a quick, few words on what is the tapasya that you guys have done to, it's all hard work, right?
Yeah. But I would disagree with you, Alok, that see, when do you have to discipline something? When you don't like it, isn't it? You want to discipline going for that walk, for that exercise, or, but when you enjoy doing something, then there's no question of discipline. Do you discipline watching television? No, it just happens, you'll surf or you go for whatever, yeah. So for me, this is my personal thing. I used to also just started experimenting in smoking, drinking, and little charas, ganja.
That's a first.
So, but when I did the Sudarshan Kriya, it gave me such a kick, I tell you, that I was looking from in all these things. Yeah? So it was the best high. Yeah? And it was a one-time investment.
Yeah.
So it didn't create holes in my pockets. And you just have to sit and breathe for a little while and you feel you're on top of the world. So as you said rightly, yes, the habit left me. I didn't have to make effort or discipline myself. And I used to look forward to when I sit and do my breathing practices because it gives you that high, that kick.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Do you want to do a breathing practice?
No, rather not. The promise is no. First, let's get Q&A if we have time. Then.
Okay.
So we're opening it up. 5 minutes to go. Any questions?